everybody and welcome back to my channel. I haven't been very good at weekly vlogging. It is currently Friday and I haven't picked up the camera at all. If you watched last week's vlog, which if you haven't I'll leave a link in the corner, but otherwise I had a really bad migraine last week on Thursday and it absolutely wiped me out. It was the kind of migraine where I was in so much pain, I couldn't open my eyes, I couldn't move, I couldn't really think about anything else about other than how much pain I was in, and I managed to, you know, find some painkillers, sleep it off, managed to ease it, but I have had basically the same headache ever since, and it lasted about a week. This morning, touch wood, is the first day I've woken up without a headache, and I'm starting to feel a little bit achy and tired now that I'm slightly later in the day, but I'm absolutely blaming whatever headache that was that lasted for a week. I really didn't want to film, really didn't want to do it. So yeah, I've had a quiet week. I spent the first few days of the week feeling annoyed with myself and beating myself up a little bit for not being more productive and having a headache in the first place. But then my mum rightly pointed out, it's like, why don't you actually let yourself treat yourself like you're ill and just rest? I was like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. So I've spent the last couple of days on the sofa, I've napped, and this morning I feel a lot better. I made a real effort to make sure I was hydrated yesterday, so I'm trying to maintain that today, she says, having not finished the bottle of water yet. Yeah, feeling much better today. Already had an exciting day because, long story short, I went to my ballet class on Wednesday. I think I've mentioned this a few times because I always talk about how I have my weekly audiobook listening time when I'm driving to and from ballet. And unfortunately, I only got to listen to my audiobook when I was driving to ballet, because at ballet, I don't know whether it was a panic attack, whether I overheated, whether I overworked myself, or whether I just had a funny turn, but my heart rate skyrocketed. My teacher made me stop dancing and made me sit down and, you know, drink lots of water, and I sat out for the rest of the class. I'd already done like a 45-minute class beforehand and then like the first 20 odd minutes of my class, so I definitely still got my workout in, but I felt awful and I couldn't really describe how. But I ended up asking my husband to come over to the studio to pick me up, so I didn't get to listen to my audiobook on the way home. And it was after that day that I thought, yeah, maybe I do need a rest day and I need to start treating myself like I'm ill. The other thing that happened is that while I was sat outside the studio feeling a bit sorry for myself and feeling like my legs were jelly, one of the studio teachers came and sat with me and waited with me until my husband arrived, which was really, really sweet. We got to talking about everything that was going on and how I've got a lot going on in my mind and there's, you know, mental health and all of that. And I mentioned to her, and I still haven't spoken about this properly here, but I was fired from my last job 5 weeks before I got married, and it was a really toxic environment anyway. My mental health had been absolutely tanking while I was working there. The boss was a horrible person, and I'm far enough removed from the job now that I have no qualms with saying it. Maybe I should be a bit more cautious about whether I say that on the internet, but he's a horrible person and he fired me spontaneously with no warnings. I don't really feel like I need to have any loyalty to him, but yeah, I got fired and it's been a really traumatic experience, something that I'm still working through with my therapist, and a year and a half later I still haven't figured out what the next steps are for me. So I was kind of talking about this with one of the other dance teachers, and I'd said I'd even thought about retraining as a dance teacher, kind of a passing comment. She kind of latched onto it and she said, look, I'm teaching a mini movers class on Friday. It's kids that are like under 3. They're not doing any dance moves, there's no tap shoes or ballet shoes, it's literally just nursery rhymes and movement. Why don't you come along and help me and have a go, give it a go? And I was like, you know what, what's stopping me? Literally, what is stopping me? There is nothing. So I went out and did that this morning, and it was a bit intimidating as an autistic person, meeting new people and being in not a new environment because I know the studio, but you know, being in a new scenario. I've obviously not done that class, I'm a bit old for it and I don't have a child. It was a lot of new, so it was quite intimidating, but it was fine. It was fine. And this teacher, I've known her for a long time, and she said she's happy for me to keep assisting her, and she thinks that one day I'd be able to take over the class if necessary. She said there's a date in November where she's booked some time off and they currently don't have any cover for it, so it's something I could maybe work towards. She said that when she first started shadowing, she took 3 months before she started teaching her own class, so it's not something that they would expect me to jump into straight away. But yeah, I'm currently doing a bit of, I suppose it's volunteering for want of a better word, but I'm kind of training to be a dance teacher, kind of-ish. I'm also going to be helping with some adult tap classes next week, which is definitely just kind of a way for me to be able to go back to adult tap, because I've not been able to afford to go to a tap class in a really long time, and tap is my favourite kind of dance, so I'm really excited about that. So that might be starting from next week. A very unexpected turn, but something I'm exploring. I'm not sure whether it's going to be for me. It's a lot of change, but I'm going to give it a go. I have the time and the opportunity to do it, and I already know the studio and the teachers are incredibly supportive, so maybe I could be one of them. Who knows? So yeah, I'm giving that a go, and that's kind of given me a new pep in my step. That is what I did this morning. Then I came home, I had some lunch, I've had a couple of deliveries. My Afterlight box arrived with my April Afterlight book, which is very exciting, and also this hoodie arrived, which I'm going to be wearing to Comic-Con next month, and I'm really excited about. It's Spider-Gwen from the Across the Spider-Verse movies, and I love it. It's really cute, and I feel really cute. That's kind of a long-winded life update and a weird start to the vlog that is 4 days late. My battery light is flashing, but basically, hello, welcome to the vlog. We're going to have a weekend vlog this week, so maybe I'll try and film a bit more of what's going on in my day-to-day, but I've just filmed a few TikToks, so I think I'm going to go downstairs and do some editing, and we'll see where the day takes us. I'm on my own for the rest of today, and tomorrow Lucas is at work, and then he's coming home Saturday night and then off to work again on Sunday, so I will be home alone the whole time. Can keep me company.
Yeah, I'm very kind.
You're a nice boy.
Is there Wi-Fi? I might lose signal for a second while I jump onto the Wi-Fi. Please hold, senor.
I'm not senior.
La 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 spoofa, la 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 spoofa. Don't you test me. I'm on the Wi-Fi.
Say hello to my vlog.
Hello, vlog.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. It is now Saturday. I slept longer than I wanted to. It's the first time I've shut off my alarms and gone back to sleep in a very long time. I have just had my breakfast and my meds, and I don't want to go get dressed yet. So what I've done is I've found a lo-fi spring something on the telly. Obviously I've muted it because it's copyright music, but I've put that on YouTube, and I'm gonna sit and continue reading the book I started last night, which is I was going to say the new Famous Five, the next Famous Five that I need to read. Before I did, I just wanted to talk to you about The Player of Games, which is the book I finished not last night, yesterday evening, because I read it before I went to bed. That doesn't matter, because I didn't actually give any kind of reading update when I introed this vlog yesterday. So the book I've been reading all week is The Player of Games by Ian M. Banks, which is my book club pick for this month. And because I've not been very good at reading my book club picks this year, because in February I did start reading the book club pick in February, but I didn't finish it until the first couple of days of March, and then March was like what I'm calling my active slump, where I was still reading, but I was reading really slowly, so I didn't get through the books I was reading to get to my book club book in March at all. So I read the March book club pick at the beginning of this month, which was The Hobbit, and I'm determined not to go into the next month having the same issue. Player of Games, I made a distinct effort to read that. It's been a book club month because I finished reading A Touch of Chaos. There's been a couple of audiobooks here and there, but I went from March book club to March Famous Five to April book club to April Famous Five, and then I feel like I'm back on track. I'm optimistic that I might actually be able to squeeze in another book before the end of the month, because I keep forgetting the month doesn't end this weekend. It ends on Tuesday, so I have a couple of extra days, but I'm definitely overanalyzing. Either way, The Player of Games, it's a sci-fi book, which is the second in a series, and the whole point of our book club is that it comes from the wedding library. I've explained this before, but in case this is the first video of mine that you're watching, when my husband and I got married, instead of having a gift list or a registry or whatever, we asked our guests to gift us a copy of their favourite book. So we had a little library of our favourite people's favourite books, and in an endeavour to read them all, we take it in turns each month to choose one of the books, and I read it and he doesn't. I chose The Player of Games, and in his note with the book, he said this is the second in a series, but sometimes you just have to read things out of order. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm taking that as Sam says you can read this book without reading the first one. And what I'm realising is Sam probably didn't mean that, because there's a lot of context that is set up in the first one, because the book is part of a series called The Culture, which kind of sets up the entire kind of, is it dystopian or is it just sci-fi? Because dystopian implies future. Either way, it's a very heavy sci-fi universe called The Culture. It's like almost a lifestyle of this colony, maybe. It's definitely been established in book one, and obviously I didn't have that context, so I definitely missed a large amount of understanding. But the whole point was that the book was about this main character called Gergely, who is a player of games. He is one of the best players of all the games, just all games. It seems that playing board and card games is just a massive part of the culture, and he is really good at it, but he's bored. He's bored of all the games, and he's bored of his life within the culture, so he starts to like poke his fingers out, and then he is kind of sent by like a governing body kind of thing to another, let's call it another space colony called the Empire, who have a game called Azad, or they're called the Azadians. It's a game that's part of their culture, which is super complex, and whoever wins the game becomes the emperor of the empire for the next 10 years or whatever. So they send Gergely over to play this game, and obviously there's a whole lot more going on politically, but you learn what's going on with Gergely as the main character, and Gergely does not have all the information at all times. I really liked the sci-fi elements of it. There was a lot of robots and sentience and like quite progressive progressive beliefs on things like gender, because there's a big thing about how the people of the culture can just change their gender. And it's like just a thing that people will go back and forth between, oh, if they fancy being male, they go female, they decide to be female, and then they have a baby, and then they go back to being male. There's a whole thing about how it's common to father a baby and have a baby, and just interchanging between genders is super common, and I thought that was actually really interesting, especially when you compare it to the Empire that don't have the same physiology, and they have different like technological advancements. So there were some really interesting things going on there, but I just think because I didn't have the full context, I just couldn't enjoy it or understand it as much as I could have. So at the moment I'm rating it 3 stars just because I found it quite complex to read. It was the first book I've read that I felt like if I was reading it, because I co-read it, I'm co-reading a lot at the moment because my brain does not have a lot of capacity. So I was reading the physical version with the audiobook at the same time. And it's the first book I think I've ever read that I felt like if I was just reading the physical book, I would have really struggled, because a lot of the names of the characters and the robots and the drones and everything are quite complex, and I definitely wouldn't have known how to put those letters in an order that made the sounds that the audiobook made. So I would have struggled to read it without the audiobook. But I also would have struggled to listen to the audiobook without the physical book, because I feel like I needed the visual context of the spelling and the words to help aid my understanding. It was quite a complex book, but I think it would be less complex if obviously you weren't reading it out of order. Ironically, Lucas and I went into Waterstones end of last week, beginning of this week. At some point we went into town and I actually saw this book and the first book in the series on the shelf when I was halfway through reading it. Sod's Law, isn't it? Have I never seen this book in stores before, or have I never noticed it because I wasn't aware of it? Either way, I noticed these books for the first time and I was like, oh, Sod's Law. But I committed to reading book 2, and it's something I have gone and added book 1 to my want to read shelf on Storygraph, so one day maybe I might buy it and actually invest in it. But it is a 10-book series, so there's a real chance that I'm committing to something bigger than I'm aware of. For now, rating it 3 stars, mostly because I think I didn't give it the full chance to properly enjoy it, because I didn't read it properly, didn't read it in order, and it's definitely not a series that should be read out of order. But for what I did understand, I did enjoy it. It was fun. I always forget that I do actually like sci-fi, but I think sci-fi can be very hit and miss. I think sci-fi is difficult to do right, and I think Ian M. Banks did do it right. I just didn't give it the full context. That's my review of The Player of Games. I finished that last night. It took me longer to read than I anticipated because it was quite complex. I've done it now. I decided earlier in the month that I was going to stop thinking about how long it should take me to read a book and just let it take however long it takes, because shoulds are kind of irrelevant because that's not how it's happening, so whatever. The other thing that happened with listening to with co-reading The Player of Games is that I'm in Spotify jail for the first time. I've actually used all of my Spotify hours. Up until this point, I've been very careful about not using all my Spotify hours, but I was 1 chapter away from finishing The Player of Games. I had to read the last chapter independently, which was okay, but more of a struggle than I anticipated. This is going to be the first book I've read without an audiobook in a very long time, but it is a children's book, so I think it should be okay. The main thing I've got from co-reading the Famous 5 books previously is that it just takes me less brain power, so it feels almost like watching the book rather than reading it, because obviously I'm listening to the words. It's almost like reading subtitles, but obviously there's no visual, so now I have to use full brain power, but it is a children's book, so I should be okay. Optimistically, maybe I'll sit and finish reading this today. It is 200 pages and I read 26 pages last night, but realistically I will probably read maybe half of it today and finish it off tomorrow, but then that gives me 2 more days to potentially read something else from my April TBR, so who knows where we'll end up, but I will let you know. My battery light's flashing and I've been talking for nearly 12 minutes, so gonna shut up now. I'll check in with you later. Hello, good morning. It is much earlier than I would normally vlog. Some people would definitely say it's not early, but it's early for me. Lucas just left for work. It is 8:10 in the morning, and I'm in that weird limbo where I definitely could go back to sleep, but I really shouldn't go back to sleep because then I'll sleep for too long and I'll waste the morning. So trying to keep myself awake. But the other thing I want to do, let's restore. There I am. I ploughed through quite a bit of the Famous 5 yesterday. I think the last time I updated you I reached the halfway mark, and because this is a children's book I felt optimistic that I could read the last 100 pages in one sitting, whereas in any other book I definitely do not feel I could read 100 pages in one sitting. And I was both right and wrong, because I made it through a further 86 pages, but that means I have approximately 14 pages left. So I'm gonna sit and finish this off. I filmed a funny TikTok with Lucas last night. I'll insert some clips. Mr. Husbandman?
Yeah.
You coming? So I have more days left in the month than I thought.
Hi.
Hi. Cheers.
Oh, okay, well, I'm going to need some information.
That one's on my 24 and 24 list.
Simba. I got lost mid-sentence.
Can you read?
No. I didn't pay any attention to that.
Romance book.
Like fairy tales and shit.
It's like a...
That was a good summary.
This one?
I've started reading this one.
Oh,
Please
okay.
hold. Just put the
Monkey spinning monkeys, yeah. Put the monkey song. Da, 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 da,
drama.
da, da, da. This is like fake Disneyland. Owner of Disneyland passes away but leaves conditions for his grandsons to inherit. Special first edition. This is Billionaire Romance. That is YA thriller. This is my Afterlife book with the space edges.
My vote goes for the big one. I'm really sorry. What you were going to say.
Well, the funny story, the Emily Henry one, the premise is this woman has just moved to a brand new town to get married to her fiance.
Drama.
And he stopped being annoying. He decides to leave her because he realises he's still in love with his childhood best friend.
Lol.
So the woman ends up moving. No.
Oh. You can't read that
I can't read that one. She ends up moving in with her ex-fiance's new girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. So it's the two exes.
Lol.
And then they're like, well, if we start posting... No. Well, yeah, but no. They live in the same flat and it's a romance book, so we all know how it ends.
1 + 1 equals...
It's not gay.
It's just a romance book.
So we're going to go for the reappearance.
It is.
Of Rachel Price.
So the choices you've given me,
yeah.
I want to summarise the choices. So we've got...
I've already put the other one.
Biography about the TISM.
Yeah. Don't throw my books.
Dating an astronaut. Is she dating him? Lol, probably not. By the end, yes, she is.
Fake dating astronaut.
Kind of intriguing premise.
YA thriller.
Missing girl. Documentary about it, probably on Hulu or some shit. And then during said documentary, the girl's back. My fiance loves his childhood best friend, and I'm going to go and move in with with his best friend's ex-boyfriend, who she's broke up with, to be with my fiance, and then we're going to pretend to be in a relationship, and then we're going to fuck at the end, or whatever.
Also at some point in the middle, maybe.
Fine print.
Dreamland Brilliance.
Kind of sounded pretty mid.
Yeah.
Sound like a bit of a classic Mills and Boon without the Mills and Boon sex.
Well, it probably does have the Mills and Boon.
Yeah, but maybe it's good as a Mills and Boon, won't it?
How many Mills and Boons have you read?
None.
As many as your granddad?
No.
Are we going with this one?
I think that one sounds the most interesting. And it's got a funky cover.
He has chosen...
The lampshade is too low for me.
You're too high for the lampshade. Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. Can I read it in the last 3 days of the month? Say bye.
I haven't made a TikTok in a long time.
No, you haven't. We're not saying goodbye? Because including today, there's 3 days left of the month, and optimistically, I could finish a book in that time. And ironically, the book he picked was one of the two that I think I could have finished in that time. And he picked The Reappearance of Rachel Price, because all of his responses to the romance books were like, well, you know how it's going to end. And I'm like, we don't know how it's going to get there. But either way, he picked the longest book, The Reappearance of Rachel Price. I think it's 439 pages. He wanted me to point out that I have this special first edition. I don't know why. I've picked a really bad angle. Got this special first edition, which I believe is just the same as the Waterstones version, but without the sprayed edges. But obviously, I didn't know that when I got excited about ordering this one. So either way, we've got this. I'm going to finish The Famous Five. Depending on how awake I feel, maybe I'll start this. But otherwise, I'm going to start this later tonight and hopefully finish it on the last day of the month, so that I can start on May 1st with my next TBR book. Feeling really good about my monthly TBRs, even if I finish this, I will have only read, I think it's 5. The Hobbit, Famous 5, Player of Games, another Famous 5, Reappearance of Rachel Price. Yeah, so I will have read 5 of 9. If I do finish both of these books, I will have read 8 books this month, and that's really above average for me. So, feeling really good anyway, really feeling invigorated with reading again. March was like what I'm calling an active slump, where I was reading, but I was not reading a lot. I picked it up in April. And now I'm going to stop filming at this disgusting angle and finish my book. nice actually. This one was nicer than the last one. It felt more like a children's book, whereas the last one felt like documentation of whiny brats. So that's restored my faith in the famous 5. I may even give it a 4-star rather than a 3-star, but we'll see. I need some time to think on it because I literally finished it 30 seconds ago. I don't want to jump straight into the reappearance of Rachel Price, so I think I'm gonna mindlessly scroll on TikTok for a little bit, and then I'll go downstairs, have some breakfast, and I might read while I'm eating my breakfast.
There's a real danger that in starting this book, everything else that I wanted to achieve today is out the window. But that's a risk I'm prepared to take.
And I could very easily get hooked, but for one, don't know if it's my house or if I just can't regulate my body temperature at the moment, but I am freezing. My toes and my nose and my fingers are really cold, so I need to go get dressed and get out of my pajamas. And I also have a mammoth to-do list today, so I'm going to try and turn this into a kind of productivity vlog. I'm going to pick a task and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to take you with me. As much as accountability as it is, I need content for this vlog. So let's go get dressed, get the laundry basket, put a load of laundry on, and then consult with, I've put all of my to-do list tasks on little tiny post-it notes, so once I've done one I can rip it off and put it in the bin. Let's try and do that, because I could very easily sit around reading that book all day. I've left it there just in case I want to come back to it, and by that I mean just in case I do enough tasks to justify coming back to it. Because I don't have a better tripod, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 20 post-it notes of things that were on my list for today, that have been on my list for earlier in the week that I didn't get to because of the variety of headaches, and the dishwasher's already sad. Please hold. Attempt number 2. Let's give this a go. Okay, ironically I don't want to start anywhere. Laundry, I'm going to move over here because I've started on that, but I'm not going to say I've done it because it's definitely going to be at least 2 more loads to do, and I'm going to hang it all out. Reading vlog, I'm technically doing that. Are you going to focus? No, never mind. I've done that. I've filmed at least 1 clip today, and that does for that. I thought I'd written down take meds, thought I was going to be able to tick that off straight away. At least I can tick it off on my phone, because if you don't have to-do lists in 3 different places, what's the point? I also have gym on my to-do list for today, and the weather is gross, which I appreciate doesn't mean that the gym is going to be gross, because that's not how weather works, but I don't want to go. We'll leave it there, and maybe a burst of inspiration will hit us later. I need to film a book talk video for today, so I will maybe go do that now. I need to both edit that video and then also edit a YouTube video, because whilst I've been relatively good, she says, in a vlog that didn't start until Friday, at filming these vlogs, posting them has been a different thing entirely. So let's try and do all the editing in one go. Then we can post the YouTube video and then do something more offline. Then we will do my bullet journal spreads for next month. Oh, we'll do that one first as well, because that's a nice easy win. I'm basically just trying to put my tasks in an order now. That one is a as and when, so I'll put it with laundry. Let's put those ones together. The worst thing about these post-it notes is that they don't lay flat. I appreciate that's really not a problem, but here we are. I thought I was just going to pick one task at a time, but that's just not how my brain works. I have laundry over to one side because that's an ongoing task. I have my gym and my step goal for today, which I realistically don't think I'm going to get done, but not too fussed if that doesn't get done. And then I've put everything else in an order. So what I'm now going to do is pile them all on top of each other so I don't have to see the whole thing, because that feels overwhelming. But if I pile them all on top of each other, then it is just one task at a time, which is the only way I can do them anyway. Multitasking is overrated and arguably inefficient. If we don't make it to the bottom of the pile, that's fine. There's my little pile. It's a bit chunky, but there's my little pile of to-do items. First step, go and film a BookTok video. I didn't want to put on makeup today, but this face, I shouldn't really put on the internet. I'll feel better if I put some makeup on, so let's go and do that. Yeah, I won't lie, it's been a few hours. I just got onto the sofa and just wasn't feeling it. I got struck by another headache, and it was one where I just didn't feel like I could lift my head. But it's eased a bit now. I've stopped watching what I was watching on TV. I was just watching a bit of Stacey Solomon's Sort Your Life Out, which is, I found recently, if I've not got any YouTube to watch, I just want something easy, low stakes, reality TV without the drama to watch. And I like Sort Your Life Out because it's quite gentle, and even the bits where they get stressed, it doesn't make me feel stressed when I'm watching it. So if you're looking for a TV recommendation, that's all on BBC iPlayer. There's like 4 seasons worth, so recommend that. But I'm just about to start editing the TikTok I need to upload today. Don't know if I'm gonna get around to editing the YouTube video. It's just something I keep putting off. But yeah, like I said earlier, we're just gonna keep going one task at a time. If we don't get to everything, we don't get to everything. That's fine. It was always going to be a given that I ended the vlog on a Monday morning rather than on the Sunday that it should have. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I think I said yesterday that I finished reading The Famous Five. I finished 5 Codes of Smuggler's Top. I only had 17 pages left to read of that yesterday morning, so I finished that one. And then I don't have the dust jacket, but I've started reading The Reappearance of Rachel Price. And I got to, I think, 50 pages in last night. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this so far, so hopefully I can binge read this before the month ends tomorrow night. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this very strange little vlog, and I'll hopefully see you next time for another bookish video.